Hello and welcome to The Extra Mile. I'm Linda Boudreaux. Our guest today is Suzanne Juneau. She is a local artisan. She works with mixed metals and sterling silver jewelry. And I have to say I've been a fan for a long time, so it's really good to have her here today. Welcome, welcome, Suzanne. So
Thank
good to see you.
so much for having me. I really appreciate you offering for me to come in.
I'm delighted. As I told you before we started, I have several pieces. I mean, I really am a fan. I just love your work. How did you get started in this?
Oh gosh, I went to school at UL and I was in advertising design. I graduated in 1970. I did take a jewelry. At that time, you took a little bit of everything. I took printmaking, I took painting, I took sculpture. I can't even remember all the things I took.
And you like it all? You like
I
some
love
of it?
it all. I love it all. I enjoy doing it all. And one of the courses I took was jewelry. But when I finished, there really weren't that many jobs at that time available. And to me, I wasn't finding anything I could support myself with. So I got an offer to teach school, because at that time you could go back to school and teach at the same time. So I went back and got my education degree, but at the same time I was really missing all my arts friends, all the art that I was doing. And I thought to myself, let me join the Lafayette Art Association. So I did, made a lot of friends, and they said, come on, we have a show, we have something called the Lafayette Art Fiesta. You have to make something, an exhibit. If you want to do painting or whatever, come on, you need to do this. You have to be part of it. So I said to myself, I was living in a very small space, and I said, well, what could I do that wouldn't take up that much room and have a good time doing?
Those are the two criteria, not much room and have fun doing it.
Yes. And the tools weren't too expensive at the time. Now it could cost you a fortune, but then you could get away with very little. So I said, jewelry would fit that. You know, you can work on a desk, you can take everything and put it in a toolbox, you can put everything in a small space and hide it and cover it if you need
Because you do live here too.
Yes, exactly. So I started making jewelry. That's how I started.
But you didn't start making metal jewelry or working with sterling, or did you?
I did. I
Really?
just got a really, the big old propane tank, with the torch that cost $10.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's where I started with. And some solder and some silver and copper. And, silver was $2 an ounce at the time. I mean, copper was just about free. Trying to think, stones, well, you had to buy stones, but I probably just did. I think I started making circles and circle chains, because you just solder circles together and it becomes a chain, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. Simple stuff. Really fun, simple stuff that you could really do a lot with very little money and not a lot of tools.
And was it fun?
Oh, yes. It was fun, but to be with all those people was the most fun of all.
Was that like coming home again?
Oh, yes.
So that
Yes.
that was really the driving
It feels
force.
like family.
Yeah.
It really feels like family.
And you've been a part of the Lafayette art community, I guess forever then.
Yeah.
Huh? Since then.
Since 70.
So don't you think it's a very special group of people?
Oh, definitely. Oh, they're wonderful. Everybody is wonderful. I think we all feel akin to each other. We all understand what each are going through, and none of us feel that we're competing with each other, because we all do our own thing. Nobody's work looks anything like each other's.
That's right.
And we just have a good time at what we do. And there is no reason to ever believe that the market should be limited, because we are trying to educate everyone to say, handmade is wonderful, handmade is fun. If you're going to give a present, come and buy something handmade and give it to your friend or your cousin or your niece or whoever you need a present for, and they will become part of the fan club as well.
And that is exactly what happens.
It is.
Yeah. And I want to put a plug in for your husband too, whose work I also like, because he also is an artist.
Oh, yes. He's always worked in bigger projects than me.
And his name is?
Pat Juneau.
Pat Juneau. Okay,
and
for those who
Pat
know.
works in pieces that may be that big.
Yeah.
They can be very large.
They're not going to fit on your finger.
No, I don't think he likes little. At first he started making jewelry with me, and then he started doing blacksmithing. And then he decided, I'll tell you the story on that. That was really fun. Because we travel a lot, we meet a lot of people all over the country, and we did a show in Huntsville, Alabama. And one of the weavers who was at that show also worked for NASA. And so when she came to Lafayette, which she did because of her job, she was one of the people that worked for NASA who spread new technology, the things that would develop from, you know,
From the NASA work.
from the NASA work,
Right.
and to bring it to different groups of businesses. Well, she came to Lafayette a few times. In fact, one time she brought all these businessmen to our house, and we were figuring, what in the world is this? But anyway, she said, Pat, you really should get a plasma cutter. And to look into it, you know, the first ones were very, very expensive. But we found one after about 4 or 5 years that we could kind of afford. You know how that is?
Yeah, I know how it is.
As best.
Yeah.
And so that's what he uses now to cut metal out with. And we've gone to even CNC, which is computer controlled plasma cutting. So, you know, we can make small things.
Let's see this bicycle here. This is absolutely adorable. And this is a newer design, right?
This is a newer design
I haven't
within
seen
the
bike
last
before.
maybe 6 months or so.
Well, good, then I'm not too far out of time.
Wait, oh, I'm sorry, I did
That's
that.
okay. We're going to let Pat kind of zoom in on this. So,
I'll hold
so
it still.
the bicycle then is something that he designed in
He
a larger
designed.
scale.
Pat loves bicycles. That is one of his favorite things. He collects old bicycles. He restores old bicycles. He has them hanging from everywhere. And so he wanted to do a bicycle, and so he did a bicycle in a very much larger size with a rider on it. And I said, you know, I think a pin would be fun. So they cut out small ones for me.
And they did that how? They used
Using the
computer?
plasma cutter, computer-controlled plasma cutter, because to cut this, the only other alternative to cut something this small as a jeweler would be a jeweler's saw. Sitting there and sawing this out would be
Tedious.
20 minutes to an hour of work, you know,
Yeah.
just depending how good you are.
How long
And-
does it take with the computer?
Oh, gosh, let me see. Probably about 40 seconds.
Wow. You're
Maybe 60 seconds, because it goes around, it cuts. I'm just trying to think of the cut path and where the cut path goes. Figuring a cut path is probably one of the hardest things that you do, because you have to remember what heats up and what doesn't heat up and where you come back to. Because when you're starting to heat the
I'm
metal,
going to hold
it's-
this up so that
oh,
they can
certainly.
see as you go around. So what are you doing there?
Okay, you're figuring out where the metal's heating. Because see this very, very thin line here?
Yeah.
If you cut that, you cut this and immediately went and cut this would just burn up completely. You
Oh,
see?
because it had just been heated.
It had been heated, and so you're adding extra heat to it, and that would just get to the point where it would burn. So to figure those cut paths is probably the hardest thing that you have to do, and you have to do a little experimenting. It'll take you
Yeah.
maybe a day or so to get, and lots of cutting, to figure out what works and how to change it, and you keep changing it until you get it right. But once you change it and get it right, it's there in the computer and it can be
and
stored.
it's good to go.
Yes.
Okay. That is just amazing. So now, so you did that, and now you're enameling them. Is
And
that
then
the idea?
enameling them,
Okay.
yeah.
And these are pins, right?
And these are pins.
So we can wear these.
Yes,
These
they-
are just, you know, you can pin
Yeah,
it
they-
on your blouse, and
It
you're very
can,
good.
but they're great on purses. I have one of girls on my purse. I put them on T-shirts. I put them on hats. I put
Just
them on everything.
Any old wear. Those are really, really cute. And you also have, I just want to show that you have the flower, because I have his big flower on my house.
Oh,
and
yes.
This is a really nice piece too. And he does the big ones, and
Yes,
you do the little ones, right?
Exactly.
And it's the same kind of thing. That's a computer.
It's all
cut also.
CNC controlled, computer controlled, and it's a plasma cutter. So basically, I was explaining to you earlier, but I'd like to explain it to the people watching.
Yeah, because nobody, I mean, you have to see this to believe it.
It's really fun. If you ever want to come watch at the house. It's really fun. Basically, it's an arc welder, and the arc is being shielded with a ceramic cone. So you don't have to use the big helmets that you have to wear if you're using an arc welder, because otherwise you'd ruin your eyes completely. But what happens is the arc heats the metal, say at this point right here, to the plasma state. That's about 50,000 degrees.
Wow.
And then behind it is forced air. So as the metal is melted at a very small point, it's blown away. And behind the surface it's full of little bitty black specks because the metal has cooled behind it, and just formed little balls everywhere. But we would love to have a laser cutter, but that's much more expensive. That's in the range of industrial use.
Yeah.
So
you should
one
buy
of
a
these
house
days
for
they
that.
may come down, but they haven't done it yet.
Okay, so you got your eye on it, huh?
Oh yes, we have an eye on it. We certainly do.
So this is just one of the ways that you all,
Oh,
because you do work all kinds of ways,
work.
right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's so varied. Let's talk about, let's say, maybe
this one?
this.
Okay.
This is kind of a nice showy piece. Now, what goes into making something like this? which
Okay,
is
this
just-
is all constructed. This is silver, sterling silver, and then bronze in here. I
Well,
wish I could say I had the money to do it in gold.
We're going to get a shot here and talk about it. So you're working with primarily with sterling silver then?
Sterling, yes. The affordable metals. Any of the affordable metals I work with. I would love to work in gold, but the price of gold has gotten... I mean, I made this ring when gold was affordable. I used to do cast gold rings.
Ooh,
It's
that's
probably very
pretty.
dirty.
Ooh, that's pretty. We're all watching this one, y'all.
And I used to do a lot of that
here
kind
we
of
go.
work.
Now we've got a shot of this. So now what do we have here?
Okay.
This is a necklace, by the way.
It's a big necklace. It's pretty heavy too, I have
It
to
is.
admit. But I made it as for an exhibit. So I didn't really care about the weight at that
Yes,
time.
so-
Usually when I'm working on pieces, I care about weight.
Because you have, if you're going to wear it, it's got to.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is bronze here. This is sterling silver, sterling silver. The idea is just a ribbon, what I thought was a ribbon coming around and holding all the stones together. And then this is lapis. This is something called seraphinite. It's a Russian gemstone. But I just love the pattern and where it worked with these other things. And then these are druses here and here. It's just fun to put stones together too, because they're just like picks of color. It's almost like doing a painting. You sit there and lay these stones out and say, oh, that looks like a good combination, because you're using color and shape and laying that out and then thinking, where is the silver going to go? How is it going to work best? But what I use to put this together is a torch, and it's a acetylene oxygen torch, but it's called the little torch. So the flame is only about that long.
Okay, so that's not
But
a
it's
real intimidating.
No, it's not. But it's 5,000 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
So it is very, very hot. These metals melt at about
looking at
2,000 right in there. You know, what you're doing here is just making a ball. So what you do is you come here on the side with your torch, pointing it out, and you bring your metal over here and you start with a ball, and it just makes a ball.
And then
The chain is just little loops that are soldered together. Like I said, my original pieces.
Kind of back to where you started.
Exactly. Those are just little loops, much smaller than what I was talking about. I was talking about big circles, and these are little bitty, just to be able to have chain to, you know, if you want to make it a little bit longer. But it's pretty long as it is.
That's an exquisite piece. It
Well, thank
really,
you.
really is. So I guess do you start with the stones, or do you start with the
Yes.
metals? You start with the stones.
I start with the stones. A piece like what I have on, I start with the metals, and I just cut shapes. I enjoy cutting like 15 or 20 pieces of metal. Just
you
shapes.
just cut 'em. You just cut 'em.
Yeah, and then I'll take them on a board like this, and I'll lay them down, and I'll put 3 or 4 together or something, and just start with shapes, just like if you were to cut a whole bunch of shapes out of cardboard, and then just set them where you wanted them to go. And then I say to myself, well, okay, should this one be textured? You know, I'll take a hammer and texture it.
Oh, that's how you do it. I was going to ask, how do you? Now,
And that's a
I think
hammer.
we have a shot of the one that you're wearing, and that's a beautiful piece.
Oh, thank you.
And what kind of metals do you have in there?
Copper, silver, and bronze.
Okay, and those are 3 you like to work with.
Those are the ones I like. I love the colors.
They
you
are.
know.
They're beautiful.
And they work with everything that you own. That's the other thing. They'll go with your gold. It'll go
They
with your
do,
silver.
they do.
And the copper brings out the prettiness of everybody's complexion.
There you
know,
go.
it really
Copper's
is.
very kind.
It is. It's very kind. It's a warm color, and it you know, it really works well.
So you started on that one with the bigger pieces of metal, and then just kind of worked the design around it.
Mm-hmm.
Does it like tell you where it wants to go, or do
Yes,
you? Okay.
it does. And I've found in the past, I used to sit down and try to draw something out. Because if I'm making something special for somebody, they really would like to have a drawing of it. But I've gotten to the point where I feel when it goes from drawing to piece, it becomes too static. It doesn't have the flow and the feel. And people are astounded when I say, well, okay, let me just make something and I'm going to send it to you. And you decide if you like it or you don't like it, and you can send it back to me or send me a check. Because that's the easiest way to do it. If I'm happy with it, I'll put it in the mail or bring you over and show it to you. If I'm not happy with it, no.
Now, if you make something and you don't like it, can you just melt it down and start over?
Oh, yeah. Well, I have buckets. I mean, like big buckets of things I'm not happy with. And I have pieces of things I'm not happy with, and they're just all over my table. And then the buckets are on the floor. So if I ever feel like I need to go and work from something, because sometimes you feel that way.
Yeah.
Your mind's kind of clouded and you want to do something, but you really don't feel like you're happy about where your design elements are going. You start with something and you start adding to it. You know how that is.
Mm-hmm, I do.
It's kind of like having a flower arrangement, and you go get a rose outside and you stick it in and you say, oh, well, I can add that, and I can add that, and I can add that, and it'll work.
And then you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes
you don't, but
yeah.
you throw it back in the pot.
And sometimes it's all about the timing too. Some
yeah.
days things go together and some days they don't.
That is very true. It really is. It really has to do with a lot about how you're feeling at that particular time and day and what you feel like doing. But there's nothing more fun than, I have this giant chest I bought a couple of years ago on sale at Sears. It's one of those giant tool chests with all the little drawers like this. And I filled it with stones.
Because you love stones,
I love stones. And so it's on my table. And if I really don't know what I'm going to do, I start opening those drawers and looking and finding things that I really say, oh, I'd like to make something with this. And then that's my start point. So that's really fun, just to sit there and look at all your junk.
Now, you have a lot of jewelry, so I'm thinking that you must be a very disciplined artisan. I mean, you don't just whimsically go in, every now and then. You have a schedule and you
Easily.
Okay.
9 at least, 9, and then stop for lunch, and then go back and work till 5.
Okay, so it's just
that's every day.
It's like a day job.
Yeah. And as I tell people, what is more fun, doing that or cleaning house and doing laundry and doing all those other things? So
answering phones.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and I love what I do.
But I mean, I think a lot of times people forget the discipline that's required.
Oh.
But it's a huge part of it, huh?
Very huge. Very huge, because it's really easy to say, I don't really need to do that today, Well, I was working this morning. I worked till noon. So, and then I cooked some lunch, and then I started, because sometimes I look at my email and do all that stuff in the morning. But I said, since I'm coming here, let me just, after I finished lunch and cleaning up dishes, I'll sit down and do my email, which is what I'm looking for if somebody's corresponded with me, or just even offers. I get jewelry making today, and I'll sit there and read ideas, or just anything. You never know what you'll find on in the email. And then I did that, and then I said, well, let me go get dressed, and I came here.
So it's kind of just all flows.
Yes, it all flows.
Okay, so you make pins, you make necklaces, you also make rings, and I'm just going to find the one that I like.
Yeah, please do.
So, we were talking earlier, rings are one of your favorite things to make.
I love them because they're so small, and it's really fun to get down into that small, small world. Let's see if we can put this maybe right there.
So what is it about the small work? I mean, I guess you have to have like magnifying stuff.
It puts you in another world. It puts you in a situation that the only thing you can think about is that small little area right in front of you. The world becomes very, very small. And when you're working with a torch, because you're working with the torch right there.
And that's a 5,000 degree.
Yeah. And it's a very small torch, but it's basically drawing with 2 hands. The band on the back is put on, I wish I had brought a mandrel to show you how it works. It's a steel mandrel. It's a step mandrel that has each size of ring on it. So you would take the band, a piece of silver, start with round wire, and then I run it through a rolling mill, and that I thin the wire, and flatten the wire. And then I make it go around the mandrel, and then I start drawing the lines, just drawing, and stop and look and move things around and take a pair of pliers and push things here and push things there until I get what I want. But you can't let your mind wander because you'll hurt yourself.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, you have to really
because
think.
it's hot.
Oh yeah, I mean I've done lots of things that were really stupid, and that's how I've burned myself.
Okay.
I mean, I can remember thinking, because I'll work, as you can see, in lots of different metals.
Right.
And so I'll have all these sheets and pieces of metal and all these rods, all different colors and sizes. And one time I just was stupid enough to think, oh, I'll just stick one in my mouth, and it burned both sides of my mouth.
Ouch,
You know, because I just
yeah.
used it and I put it in my mouth. Oh, that was dumb.
That's your finest moment.
Yeah, it was not one of the best.
It happens. It happens.
You know, it's just dumb stuff is when you hurt yourself. So
Yeah.
if you're concentrating, I really have never hurt myself when I've been concentrating.
And that's another good thing then, when you can get that focus, then that becomes the world, huh?
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice because your mind can't wander. It can't, you know, it does all those stupid things. It makes you what ifs, when are, and things that really don't make any sense. And it just gets down to looking at the negative and positive spaces that you're making.
So that's really being in the zone in the most real way.
Oh,
huh?
yes.
And now, like, back to this little ring. Now, the stone in this ring is
Let's see, I don't even, opal.
an opal. And
Yes, boulder
so
opal.
where do you find all your stones?
Let's see, that particular one came from a gem and mineral show in Houston. I think the closest large area to find stones are the gem and mineral shows in Houston, and there are about 4 big ones in Houston. There was just a wonderful one not too long ago. It was Easter weekend, so I didn't go.
Oh.
I know, I really thought about it. I really did.
Sorry, family, I'll see you later.
Yes, exactly. That was
It's like all our guys that go hunting on Thanksgiving. You know, something
Yes.
just happened that way.
So I didn't go, but I'm sure I'll be back really soon. But anytime I travel, I buy stones. Whenever I find a nice gem and mineral shop that's open, you can spend a few $100s real easy. It doesn't take long.
Like that. Yeah.
Just a few minutes.
So when did you start putting stones in your work? Because some of your earlier pieces that I saw didn't have stones in them. Maybe they always did and I just didn't see them.
Let's see. It was probably about, it was before my children were born. So I'm thinking it was in the late 70s because then I started cutting stones.
Okay.
And I cut them myself, and that was fun because it was really a whole revelation of a new way to make art, because you were finding pictures in the stones and then cutting them out. So each one was kind of like a photograph in that, you know how you organize the photograph and set it all together, an Ansel Adams photograph or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's already there. God put it there, and you just have to find it and cut it out.
Wow, what a great way to describe it.
So it is fun.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
really
But
is.
you're not cutting anymore.
No, it was just a lot. It is a lot of work, and it was a decision whether I had time to do the metal work or time to do, you know.
Yes, or the stones.
Yes.
I'm putting this bracelet up because we're running short on time. I
Oh,
want to
sure.
show the bracelet too, because the other thing that y'all make, I mean, you make lots of things, but you also have
yes.
bracelets and earrings, and we're not going to
Yes.
have time to get to everything. But let's look at this bracelet first. Now, this is another absolutely exquisite piece. Tell me about this one.
Well, I think
Oh.
that's the one I'm trying to remember. Oh, okay. The stone in it is something called, it's a mineral specimen, and it's just, that's how it comes out the ground, fusite.
Just like that?
Yes, that's what it looks like,
Go
because
Mother
I
Nature.
just picked them out of a barrel.
Wow, look at that. That's gorgeous.
My daughter and I were at a show in Austin, and on one of the major roads, I think off of I-35, there's this great gem and mineral shop. It's really fun to go to, just to play. And I was in the rough department and saw this stuff, and it was just so beautiful. And it's very hard. You know, you can take a hammer to it, and it's not going to mess it up.
Wow.
It's really neat stuff.
Wow.
And I had never seen it before, so I bought about 4 or 5 pieces, and I just love it. And then I thought, the green, of course, let's do something with leaves. You know, leaves go with it, and the copper is the red, which is the complementary color to green, so it has to be, that would be in copper. And then the bronze is holding it all together.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
We just got the 1 minute signal, so I'm just going to tell everybody that you also have earrings here. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
I mean, it's just wonderful and so much fun. Suzanne, how can people find you or get hold of your stuff or
Well, I have
whatever?
work at 3 locations here in Lafayette if you want to go to a shop. The Sanssouci Gallery in downtown Lafayette on Vermilion is one.
I love Sanssouci.
And it's really fun. It's all Louisiana Crafts Guild members, which I am a founding member of. I always believe in organizations because you get to be a family with everybody.
Well, you
who's
can
in
get a
it.
lot more done if you're not doing it all by yourself.
Exactly. And then Lafayette Art Association, which I've been a member of since I graduated from college. And then the Art Museum here, the gift shop in the Art Museum.
Okay. So you're available at those places that really support our artisans and our craftspeople, so people can find your work there. We're out of time, but I just want to mention before we close, your children are following in your footsteps, and that's a really good thing.
That's right. My daughter works with me. She didn't get to come today, but she made a bunch of these pieces that you see here. My son works with my husband, and he's the one that is really responsible for all the CNC work.
Okay, so we're going to have another generation of Juneau artwork to look forward to. Suzanne, thank you so much for coming today.
Well,
it's been a pleasure.
I've really enjoyed being here.
Me too, thank you. And thank you for watching The Extra Mile.